Hi and welcome to the best thing you watched this week. We've got a very interesting podcast this week. I'm very excited. We've got two interesting parts. We're going to do our normal beginning where we're going to talk about the best thing we watched. We're going to do entertainment news. And then for our podcast section, which you can find wherever you listen to podcasts, we're going to do talking about the Oscars that are coming up, award season, and who we think might actually host, because that's the big thing that's happening at the moment. Everybody's trying to guess, and we thought we'd put our hat in the ring. So, from me, Ruben and the Ruby Tuesday, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. From Chris.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello. And just as we start, I think I would like to thank my mother for giving birth to me, and I'd like to thank my father for being my father, and I just really want to thank Sid the Sloth for helping me accept this award. I just don't know how I can just be so thankful at this time. Everybody needs a Sid the Sloth. They love me. They really love me. Okay, enough of that silliness. If you spot on my set, there are many Oscars, because that's how many I've won.
Oh, wait, many as in lots, or many as in tiny?
Tiny, many. Look, there's one. Yeah, at least 6 plastic golden men.
Outstanding. And what have you won these for?
Stars. Specialness.
Okay. Good. Everybody gets an award. That's perfect. That's how you...
My mother says I'm special, so we're just going to stick with that.
Awesome. Right on.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Ruben. How are you?
I'm okay.
Oh, hey, you know what? Last week I asked you a question. I got another question for you.
Okay, cool.
If animals could talk, which would be the rudest?
Cats. Just without a doubt.
Yes.
Cats.
See, I was thinking farm animals. I was trying to go through, but you're absolutely right. I think cats would. I'm not even sure they would condescend to speak to us, right?
I mean, it's like, feed me, human. Off with you. If they were that intelligent and could speak, I think we would not be the top of the food chain either. I think cats are evil and quite scary, to be honest.
They're so cute, though. But think, they have trained us.
Yeah,
we feed them.
We think they're cute, but yeah. So dogs, we share our souls with, and they're the man's best friend, and they'll come and cuddle you. Cats will come and sit on your lap when they are cold, if they deign it the perfect lap, or they'll just scratch you on their way across, jumping from, or they'll cough up a hairball in your shoe, or anywhere that's important to you, or they'll drop a dead mouse into your dog's water bowl so that you can kill the dog off, so they can be the only pet. True story, happened this week.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah, had to thoroughly clean the dog's bowl and just keeping an eye on the evilness of the cat.
Oh.
What's his next move?
Yikes.
What do you think? Do you think it'll be cats?
Yes, I do. I think you make a solid argument for cats. They would, they walk up and they knock things off the whatever is in their way, or not even in their way. Sometimes they go out of their way to go and knock something off.
How many times have you seen, I don't know, your cat or your own cat walk up on a shelf, look at you, look at the ornament, and just go, boop?
Oh yeah, no, that's
because
they can, and they know too. It's like, what are you going to do? What do you think?
Even if you raise your voice, you're like us, low key. The tone shifts down, and you're like, don't you do it? No, boom. Yeah. With our dog, he might do the naughty thing, but then would be remorseful and head down. And like, I'm so sorry. Cats are like, just reminding you, I rule this house.
Yes. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, enough ridiculousness. All right. We dive into our best thing that we watched this week. Ruben, what tops your list?
I'm surprised. There was quite a bit that I thought was good. I also watched a real lot of poo. I think it's the most amount I've watched in a week in a long time. Like my eyes are just red. I've got great sand and just I need sleep. So when it's bad, I was really, really angry that it was bad because like you're just wasting my time. I could be sleeping.
Sure. Yeah.
Brazen is a fine example of that. What was that poo?
That oh my goodness. Yes. That
Oh my gosh.
I was shocked at how disappointing that one actually was. It was a bummer. Because it makes me mad when it has potential to be a good movie or a good show, and they squander that. I mean, we've talked about the bad shows and the bad movies that they know they're bad, and so they fully embrace that, and that becomes fun. That's you have a terrible thing, or you're just gonna go. You have no production value, you have no budget, so you're just gonna embrace that and go with it. Brazen, I think they had budget. I don't know what happened. It was yuck all the way around.
Just no. There's so many things I was just sighing and arguing, and they're like, please, can you be over now?
Yes.
Anyway, the best. We're not doing the worst. We're doing the best thing we watched this week, and we can finally talk about Archive 81.
Oh, I'm so
because gosh darn it, there's a lot to talk about. And I think we're going to do spoilers. It's been out for a few days. Well, since yesterday, really.
Yeah. So, but when you're seeing this or hearing this, it's been out 2 days, at least. Yeah, because it came.
So we'll do some spoilers, but we won't talk about the end. I think we could skip around it that way, like reveal what actually happens.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, because that way we can talk about things that happen in the arc of the plot without skipping around too much. Without actually, because we'll just sound like loons trying to explain this plot.
Right.
Because it's mental. And then
it
we'll
is.
lead people to discover what happened.
Yes.
So if you actually want to go in completely spoiler-free, then check the time codes down below. We'll have you can just skip to the next great thing that we watched this week. Chris, why don't I know you're dying to talk about it, so why don't you tell me your thoughts on this?
Well, okay. So this one, it checks so many of the boxes for me. I mean, just of my own personal, like, little intrigue type of things, from like hidden passageways or hidden or secret architecture to just an overall mysteriousness, secret societies, things like this. These really intrigue me because I know they exist to some degree, but I don't know where, and I don't know how do you access them. And then, especially with secret societies, would I want to access that? Would I want to be part of that? Would I want a little window into that? Or is that going to freak me out? Or is it too much behind the curtain? And I just don't want to know that. But it still is like, ooh, that's very interesting. And like, I'm sucked into that. The aesthetics of this show got me. I mean, from bouncing back and forth between like the present and the early 90s, mid 90s. I thought they captured it really well. The clothing felt legitimate. What was it? Was it the High 8 or the Super 8? Not the Super 8. The High 8 video cassettes. And I think like her Sony Handycam type of thing that she was using, I had one of those at one point. I may even still have some old one in the back. And so it was just really cool, to see these things. But it reminded me, it pulled in feelings of different shows that I've really enjoyed. And then it was that mix of genres, with the mystery, with the potential sci-fi, with maybe supernatural, all of these combined to just be like, wow, and then you have a story that legitimately I was invested in. Like I wanted to know, the way that Mamadou Atiye, and I think that's how you pronounce his name. I could be totally screwing it up, but the way that he's calm and reserved, but he's also very driven, in that almost psychotic way where he gets sucked into the mystery. Okay, wait, before I continue talking, tell me some of the things that you liked.
I think they mentioned that about his character that's built in, where he he becomes obsessed with something, and then he's like laser focused. He's almost not OCD, but he's almost autistic in that way. Once a child or a person that gets a repetition thing, because I know we have an autistic son. Once the thing becomes a pattern, their safety net is that thing, and you got to keep doing it. So he is almost like that, and I love the way he portrays that. I thought he was fantastic. I think the bouncing back between the two timelines, as you see our two protagonists' relationships develop somewhat. It's a weird relationship, but you're rooting for them to have a relationship. I don't think that was just me, but you also know that can't happen because they don't exist in the same time and space, right? As the mystery unfolds, I had some answers, but I just had more questions as well. At I was like, what is this? I have an OA itch that needs to be itched. And this did part of that for me. When you get the
wasn't that unsettling through the whole thing? It's just present.
The whole thing was unsettling, but that sound that was there throughout, man, like the hairs on my arms and my neck would often just go up, like, suddenly I have a duvet and my eyes are like getting lower, and like there's nothing scary on screen, but I'm really kind of freaked out right now. The very clever, subtle art of less is more is used perfectly in this. The reveal of the thing that we might be scared of, or that there might be on occasion. I am skipping somewhat gently. Eventually there's a thing that they have to reveal, but even then, when they reveal it, you don't see that much of it, or when you start understanding, right? So much so that at the end you still have questions, right? You very much want to know what's going to happen next. I really want to talk about the end because I want to know if they're going to do more.
I hope they do more.
Because there's a lot more content, because it's based on a podcast, and there's like so many seasons, I think.
But did you know that the podcast episodes, like I checked it, I didn't listen to them yet because I hadn't finished the series when I started looking at the podcast. I was like, I don't want to know anything as I go along. But they're short episodes, at least in season 1 of the podcast. So they're like 15-minute episodes or something like that, which they build out an hour show, 8 episodes that are close to an hour each. And so we get a lot of good, rich detail and world building in this.
Yeah.
Something that I liked that I think added to a lot of the intrigue is how we have 2 sets of unreliable narrators. That you have Melody in the past, who she's just built out to be unreliable because she's seeing a psychotherapist. She's being gaslit by all of these people within the building that she's residing and trying to get. And then in the present, you have Dan, who is chosen by this organization, and they fully know that at some point he had some sort of breakdown. And they reference that regularly. Like, are you okay? We want to make sure that you're mentally stable, that you're not having another breakdown, anything else, which then it's almost like they have this built-in plausible deniability of like, well, you can't pay attention to anything that he says because he's had a breakdown before. He's seen things, he's, whatever. And so it's disturbing in that way. It's like, it's quite devious, maybe not evil, but it's at least devious in the way that, they go about presenting that.
But I think they're gaslighting the audience as well.
Oh yeah.
Because you never know. No. Kind of. You think you know. And then they'll pull another, but maybe she is. Or maybe he isn't. Then you'll get someone with a voice of reason come and, but look what you're doing. You're absolutely mental. You insane person. You need help. And then you're like, oh, yeah, maybe. Oh, okay. And then there'll be a squirrely squiggle on the thing with the person with the face in it, and you'll be like, what the hell? It's all real. Come on.
Yeah. I'm still not, the show classifies what we see as one thing, And to
Mm.
me, it looked more like something more sci-fi than
Mm.
supernatural, you know? And so I'm still not convinced that it's not going to pull that in at some point,
Mm.
as they dive more into this lore. You know, I mean, really, they've only scratched the surface of what this chanting and all of this thing does. You know, their whole rituals and everything.
But yeah, but sci-fi is one thing, but I guess you could have a sci-fi supernatural thing because the way they go about activating it brings about a horror element
Oh yeah.
that um is connected with supernatural stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, with and this is I'll just go there. It's kind of a big spoiler, but when blood is
Yes,
applied to the
yes,
statue.
right.
First off, the effects that they use for that, you know, I mean, you have it curling over the top, which makes sense when you have blood on there, but the way that it goes through all of the lines and
Yeah,
it
also it goes up.
up, yeah.
Blood doesn't do that.
Yeah, no, it was like at the first time I was, you know, I'm just watching it. I was at first I was horrified at where the blood was coming from, and you know, and all of the other stuff. But then it's like, oh wow, oh my gosh, that's really cool how they're doing this. You know,
Yeah.
it's a great effect. So yeah, you are right, because even that it has to, it can't be one or the other. Well, it could be one. It could be just supernatural. It doesn't have to have that sci-fi um,
Mm,
aspect to it. But yeah, it does. You're right. That's how it's conjured up, and to
mm.
have the, you know, the ritual take
But
place.
I like that about it because you don't often get a mystery, supernatural, sci-fi esque that's has a real evil horror element to it,
Mm.
and it felt like what they were dealing with was properly evil, and which is why you were really on edge because you wanted to find out the mystery. But the more they play with the mystery, the more things are revealed in a way that could bring about more evil.
Yes.
Wording,
Yeah.
skating.
Yes. Yes. Well, I don't know about you, but I think it's episode 4 where they do a séance at the dinner
Mm.
party. That that scene, that episode, like I had to turn off the show and I had to watch something different because I was bothered by it. Not, and it's not like I was turned off from the show by any means. I mean, I was totally sucked in, but I was like, as I'm watching this, and the way I think that they crafted how you have the medium doing her thing, and then the reactions of the people, and just the, I think maybe it's probably even, I wasn't paying attention to it at this point, but the score and the sounds that are coming from this, just all of it working together, really, it bothered me, you know? And so it was like, I mean, I was fully
I
invested.
find I find my hand on the remote and I automatically turn down the volume if there's like an otherworldly voice that suddenly starts coming out of a person that shouldn't have an otherworldly voice. And I'm like, oh, why not turning it down? All right, that's my fear speaking through my body, going, nope, we're not doing.
Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. Yeah. Oh,
Or if they chanting, I find this with Supernatural sometimes when I watch it. If they're chanting Latin, and
mm,
sometimes it just sounds like nonsense words.
sure.
But in this show, Archive, the stuff that they were saying just felt really accurate and very real.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not sure what you're saying. I would really like to take that segment and then translate it and see if you're saying, Hail Satan, please come into my household and take my soul. Because I wouldn't put it past the creators to try and be as authentic as they can with the Latin. In which case, my hand then goes, volume down.
Yeah.
uh, not on my house, thank you very much.
Exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh man, yeah. It
But that just
was.
shows how good they're doing in their creativity. Like they're really evoking that sort of emotion, that sort of fear. Very clever writing. But I totally understand you wanting to go. Like, it's Simpsons time. It's Simpsons time, I think.
Just yeah, yeah. And you know, and it's funny too because like this show, I really do think is a binge show. I mean, because of just the
Absolutely.
way, you know, the, but I did partially out of just scheduling and stuff, but I did take a couple of days to watch it, which it became in our house an event. I mean, my wife and I were like, oh, okay, we've got more episodes. Let's watch some more, which I think had I sat down on like a Saturday, I probably would have watched it from start to finish and not even noticed the time. So I think you can watch this. Yeah. And I think I like that it's both a very bingeable show, but also something that you can make as an event. Like you can just, okay, I'm going to limit myself to 2 episodes tonight, and then I'm going to watch
do that
2
with
tomorrow.
The OA. Like every time it's like, whoa, new episode of OA. Really excited to watch it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an event.
Yeah, exactly. And these types where you ruminate on what did I just watch? You know what I mean? What does this mean? And then you play through some scenarios, and I still have so many questions for this show, which a lot of the time I think would bother me, but because it gave me a lot of answers and it took me in a direction that knocked off some of these things. It gave me progression, I'm less upset. I'm less disturbed or bothered that, oh, well, okay, so this season ended and now we have a whole new issue to attack, and still I'm not quite certain that we've answered everything before that.
No.
So, yeah.
I'm looking forward to, I really hope we get more. But I think there's scope there for very interesting. And if we don't get more, I'll be forever wondering, but what happened? How?
Yeah. Well, and I'm still like, I really want to listen to the podcast, but I don't want to know where it's going. I can't do that
now.
Yeah.
I don't want the mystery to be like, this is what happens. No, thanks.
Yeah. And can we just briefly, just because we do this is also not only video, but as a podcast, the dude, Dan's best friend who has that podcast.
Who has a podcast. Yeah.
That the way that they do that as a live show, but also as a broadcast, I just thought that was really cool. He's got his whole little Foley set up there to make different sound effects. And
were you a bit jealous?
A little bit. It was really cool, and it made me cool. Once you see that there's an audience there, I was like, you know what, that might actually be cool to watch. That it's just kind of like an old timey radio play, but with a little bit more production, well, actually not, because the old time radio plays they had orchestras and they had all kinds of,
they kind of made it as they went. So there was a whole very interesting creativity to those old radio plays, and BBC still does it. So they have like BBC Radio 4. They put on these old dramas and stories.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, really fun. Okay, so if you're happy to move on, what's next on your? What did you like?
I didn't expect to like this one as much as I did, but the Tragedy of Macbeth. It it's now available on Apple TV. It made the rounds through, I think, some of the festivals, and then it had a run in the theaters. And Joel Cohen's solo directing stint.
I think it's the first time they've done that, right?
I think so. Yeah. This Macbeth is not one of those that is high on my list of like when a new adaptation comes out, I'm like, yes, okay, I want to watch this one.
That's a happy one to go and see. Let's go check that out.
Right. But from the presentation and the production value, and the way that it was just presented to us as almost a 4:3 ratio. So it's square. You have it's black and white. And I had mentioned in my review that it's almost like watching a PBS broadcast back in the 80s, because it had
still had that stage.
Yes, exactly. Like when they're in a tent, and I think it was Macbeth and Banquo talking, and they're discussing something, and you see shadows of trees on the background of the tent, but the way that it's presented to us, you can tell that this is not actually out in a forest or anything else. That this is really they've built a very large sound stage, and they've either painted the shadows on the inside of the or the outside, however they do it, of the tent, or they have a, something really, right there, and they're just casting the light on it. Um, and not just that. I mean, there were other times throughout, many other times, actually, almost every time, that it just, it was expansive. I mean, you have some of these where it's on the, like in the desert, or on the, where there's the beach type of thing. It's sand. I don't know if it's beach or, where it's at. Or these fields, but you could also tell that the background was painted at some point as well, but it still has, a good depth to it. It has some really big, just width and breadth. The acting is, wow. I know you mentioned it, and I'll let you talk more about it, but just Catherine, is it Hunter?
Catherine Hunter, yeah.
Ooh.
She plays the witches and the old man.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know where to start with her. If she doesn't get nominated, like, let alone win for her, because what's her face won for what, 11 minutes of screen time in Les Mis, and
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway, yeah. And I would definitely say I think Anne Hathaway is great, and she did an amazing job at this performance for the screen time that Miss Hunter had, or Mrs. Hunter had. I thought was phenomenal. The contort. I'd love to know how I'd love to speak to her. Just ask her, like, was that your body, or did you have someone inside your black cape contorting the body to make you look weird, but also what you did with your voice while you were performing that fantastic monologue. It's just like, I don't even like Shakespeare, and that's not because I know Shakespeare isn't brilliant. It's because there's a lot of Shakespeare that you can listen to that you don't understand. Like, there's not a lot of people that have studied Shakespeare properly. You would have to sit down with the play, have a dictionary of that sort of dictionary to explain some of the meanings. Like, sometimes it's like, why for art thou? It's not asking why you are, it's very specific wording. And once you understand Shakespeare, I think you're like, oh, well, Shakespeare's a genius. It's brilliant. Once you understand Romeo and Juliet, like, actually what's going on, it's so much more in depth. It's the same much ado about nothing. I mean, that's the reason why we have 600 words of his that are now in the English dictionary. Like, he made up 600 words. The man was a genius.
Yes.
So Macbeth is not something that I will race out to go and see because it's Shakespeare, because I want to understand the movie, right? And this is what I said in my review. I said, for people that don't like Shakespeare, I think mostly it's not that because they don't like Shakespeare, it's because they have a fear of, will I understand what I'm watching? Which I totally get. The way this is presented is that if you're not understanding what you're listening to at that given dialogue line, you probably will, because the visual story of what's going on, you can decipher through what the guy said. And then your brain kind of matches up with that word. So the next time it crops up, you're like, oh, wait, I get it. Now I have that reference point. It's so cleverly put together. And so we go back to that Mrs. Hunter's scene, and I was like, I understand most of what you're saying, but the rest I totally get through your performance, like your body acting. And I was just like, I think Kirsten K walked in to watch that bit, not purposely. She just walks into the room and she's like, oh my gosh, like, that is amazing. It's the sort of thing that makes you stop.
Yeah.
And you're just mesmerized.
Yeah. I don't know. In the UK, is Shakespeare part of required reading? Is that something?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd imagine, because it's so, like, part of history here.
Yeah, because I mean, in the U.S., that's just part of the the English course in high school, and exactly.
Yeah.
But I think we do such a disservice when, for the most part, when Shakespeare is taught, because we only read it, and it's a play. It's not a book. You know what I mean? And so this is
you understand so much more when you express it.
Yeah, the context. And I liked in this how they just some of the other Cohen used just different imagery or different ways to show it. I mean, when I think
Mhm.
of Frances McDormand as Lady Macbeth, every time I've seen her talk about, the out dam spot, and
Mhm.
trying to get that spot out, it's her scrubbing something, on the ground. It's like blood, that she's trying to get out. In this, she has a drop of water that lands on her hand, and it was just like, wow, that's a whole different
Yeah,
take.
that's
And
a just different take. It's messing with your mind so much that it's like it's like I equate it to when Barabbas washes his hands of Jesus's blood. That's it's a really weird take, but no matter what, he can't. He's the way I've seen it being depicted before. He's trying to clean it, whatever version I was watching, but it's like he couldn't get enough of it. He kept looking at his hands like, it's still not off. It's such a clever visual representation of you seeing nothing, but you understand what she's going through. Yeah, there's little moments like that throughout the film. Before we even talk about the cinematography, which just between the lighting and the shadow is just beautiful. But I love the contrast between this feels like stage, but also feels not like stage.
Mhm.
It's a real. I equated it to an adventure, like you're going on a journey, but the characters almost don't go anywhere. It, like
Yeah.
it's like very much set in the same places, and you have
Mhm.
Denzel doing his incredible monologues and just like crying out at the world that his damn wife, like he's now entered into this. Why did I listen to her? And look what I've done, and there's no escape for me. And he just continues to spiral down that rabbit hole, which is brilliantly done. And you're wondering if he's seeing what he's seeing, or is he just gone mad? They're questioning the same thing as him, and you
Well,
feel like you've gone on these other journeys with these characters, but really there's like three main places, like the hallway out at the front, the room, and that tree area,
yeah,
and that's kind of it. And you're like, but I feel like I've gone on this journey with them.
absolutely. Well, the the scene where that he believes he sees Banquo, is that it?
Mm.
And at the end, and he
And
follows.
he's slashing like that, yeah.
Yes, yes. And the First Lady Macbeth follows, and then the rest of the patrons, the party goers, his subjects, they follow too, and they get to see this. But that you see that he almost knows he's mad, but isn't.
Mm.
It was done so well. I mean, the
Yeah.
imagery with I loved the crows that they used through a lot
Yeah.
of that. Yeah, the something that got me too was within the cinematography and the set design is when they're in the castle and you get those looking up shots. That you really, maybe they did build a really tall set, or maybe it's just a trick of the camera,
Trick of the
and some
camera,
angles.
yeah.
But it was like, wow, this looks really, really tall, and you feel dwarfed within there. Um, yeah, there was so much, I think, so much to like in this. I loved so many of the different characters, the cast, really, and what they brought in this. And I'm sure you recognized him, but Alex Hassel, playing Ross, who was Vicious in Cowboy Bebop on Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was so much better here. I felt that he fit in this. He had that
Mm.
deviousness. He had that more evil bent to him, and yeah, very enjoyable. I think I still don't think that if you're averse to Shakespeare, that
Mm.
this is one to just hop right into. You know what I mean? Like you might need to
Mm.
ease your way in a little bit more, because this sticks with, even though Joel Cohen uses some alternate imagery, for the most part, it's still traditional. The
Yeah.
dialogue is still sticking to it. So this is still, you're still seeing a stage presentation of this play in the language that it was written in. And while I do know that that can't help because that's how it was written, is to be watched, because it's a, it's a performance, it's a play.
Mm.
I'm not sure that this is your, if you, you're like, well, I've hated Shakespeare my entire life. I've avoided it, or I just don't like it. Let me dive into this one. I think you'll
Might not be the one for you.
yeah, well, and I think you'll be stunned by the visuals and what you see. I mean, the whole production is so good,
Mm.
but it's still not one of these that's absolutely digestible. You know what I mean? Like, go with 10 Things I Hate About You, or go with the moonlighting episode of Taming of the Shrew first. You know what I mean? Dive in, put your feet in a
Leo
little bit.
DiCaprio's Romeo and Juliet, the modern version. That's pretty good.
That is my favorite version of any of the Romeo and Juliets. It's simply because, I mean, I like all of the modern twists and the soundtrack and all of that. But for me, it's the very end that I feel that this is the most tragic one, because they are both, after he drinks the poison, she wakes up and they have a moment where
Yeah.
they are both awake, and there is that realization of what has just happened. So he has this absolute regret that he can't, you
No,
can't take
damn
it
You just have
back.
to wait.
Yeah, and her
5 seconds.
trying to just take out that last little bit of poison and can't do it. Where all of the other ones, you have Romeo believe that Juliet is dead. Romeo then takes the poison and dies. Juliet wakes up and then sees this, which is still sad. I'm not saying it's not, but it loses something when you then have a self-realization at the exact same time of, oh crap, what have I done? And, so, yeah.
Yes, it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of fun. Oh, okay.
Well,
What else made your list?
yeah, I got a couple of more things, but there is one I want to talk about. I finally have watched Mass, and oh my gosh, I'm actually pissed off at how good this film is, because now I don't think anybody has an excuse for those people that have massive budgets, but you can't string a decent line of dialogue out. Here's a film that's set in one room. And for a few seconds, you get the introduction to the church, and at the end, the hallway. But 99% of the film, one room. But the journey you go on with these characters will make you smile, will make you cry, make you grieve. It's like all the stages of grief. Phenomenal performances. And the direction, like, I don't remember there being a cut, but I know there were cuts. It's just so fluid. And there's this one, I think, 3/4 of the film in. The family, the two couples have said what they need to say. But there's this one monologue scene when the woman finally expresses a moment of what she needs to say, and she's come to a point. And I'm just like, I'm not crying, you're crying. Just like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't know she could act this good. Like, I've known her from comedy American sitcoms.
Is this Martha Plimpton?
Martha Plimpton, yeah.
Yeah, from Goonies, also.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
This just shows if you have a good script, something that has heart in it, you just need a room and you can tell a story. Like, good direction, good script, get actors. Because that means most actors are actually good at their craft. They just need to be given the opportunity to shine. And I think that's what this film showcases. Yeah, phenomenal film.
Yes, this is one of those that was right at the very top of my list when I saw at Sundance last year, and I was blown away. It really could have been just a stage play,
Yeah.
I mean, and I could see this becoming one at some point if it hasn't been already, because it's made just for that. The emotion, the restraint, and the roller coaster ride that they go on, and especially when you realize that you have two sets of grieving parents. They are both devastated, even though the circumstances are different and yet
Mm.
share similarities of why they're there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the like Ann Dowd and Reed Birney wanting to defend their son, which I think
Mm.
is natural, but
Mm.
also knowing that they has just done something horrendous and terrible. And so that conflict of I want to defend them because I love them and this is not what I knew about them,
Mm.
to this is the reality of their actions, and I'm now confronted with the ramifications of those actions from another family,
Mm.
and just it, yeah, it's one of those that is so spectacular to watch, and yet is something that it's like, I'm not sure I ever want to watch this again.
Well, I think that's where I differ. I really want to watch it again. Uh, yeah, just because I don't think I've quite experienced a film like that. Like, I want to learn from it. Like, it was like,
Mm,
teach me, because it just
okay.
feel like, yeah, yeah, absolutely destroys you. But how did you do that? Right?
Sure, yeah, and I think there is a within this, you can pull out like master classes of
Mm.
line delivery and restraint, or just yeah. There's a lot to pull out of this. Even the way, think of the tension that is created right at the very beginning. From the supporting cast who are barely in the movie, but
Right.
their nervousness, that energy that they bring
The
to it, and that
the yeah, the one woman. I've got to tell you. Yeah, I did have a story about this.
oh,
I worked for a church for 2 years. I was the media and administrator. It was a weird title. So I did all the media stuff, but I also helped to set up all the rooms for like events that they were going to
oh,
have, various
mhm.
things that I used in church building. And I have to say, it was so accurate. It brought me back to, ugh, I remember that, yeah, and all that. It's like, yeah, on a much larger scale. I had so many tables, and the painfulness of opening the legs of a table and getting the click in, and I was just like, yeah. But the tension, like, do you just want this? Is the table okay over here? I'm sorry, I moved the chairs. And you're like, what on earth? Why are you dancing around eggshells? Genius. You
Yeah,
know nothing, but you know something.
yeah, yeah. It sets the tone immediately, and so now I'm on edge, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
exactly that. Yeah.
yeah, from start to finish, it's powerful. And I'm continually still blown away that Fran Kranz directed this. And, I think it's unfair for me probably to continually just call him the stoner from Cabin in the Woods, but that's
He
where
was
I
the son from
most
Cabin in
know
the
him.
Woods.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, to see him go from that, and to know that, dude, you had this within you to direct this story, to tell this story in this way, that is
Mm.
outstanding. And so I think maybe that's a good lesson for everybody, to know that, what, don't discount based on a role, that somebody had as an actor, which I think he was still great, because he was the fool, and yet he was does, in Cabin of the Woods, he does exactly what the fool does, and brings that wisdom that everybody else can't see or won't see. Um,
Mm.
so he's very pivotal to the story. Um, but yeah, yeah, I'm blown away. I hope that the film gets some recognition in some good ways.
Yeah, we will see.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, I don't know what I was going to say now. Mm. Yes, it came back. Thank goodness. To all the budding filmmakers out there, the thing I hear really sharp-minded directors and people that have been in the business for a while uh, say, pick up a camera and film. And then I've heard others say, pick up your notepad and write,
Mm,
because you can film anything. You don't need a budget. But this example is fantastic. Write a tight script, edit it and 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 edit it until it's sharp. Then when you get to filming, you need a room and some actors. But even like terrible actors with a good script, you'll be able to pull out something remarkable. And yeah, these guys thankfully were at the top of their game. But it just proves like you don't need a budget.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Here's an incredible film in a room. Yeah.
Well, and that's why I would love to see this. And there's several plays that I have seen that are just phenomenal. They're single setting. They're just mostly dialogue driven. And so that I'd love to see those be made into a movie if they can capture the same type of emotion that was on the stage. And I think this one would be a killing to watch, and not on some big stage either. These are like some of your, not necessarily community theater, but the smaller, theaters that are more intimate, where you have, like 3/4 of the stage is surrounded by audience, and they're almost at the level of where this is taking place. And so just powerful, powerful storytelling.
Yeah, incredible. Really. Okay, so what's next on your list?
I think I'll briefly touch on it. The House, not
Okay.
House.
The House. Yep.
Yeah. This was weird. I enjoyed the animation. I liked the darkness of the stories and some of the themes.
I'm surprised because you don't generally like puppets and stuff.
Yeah, puppets, they freak me out. But stop motion is really good.
Stop motion is different. Yeah.
And so it, and I went in, like, I watched the trailer for this first, and I don't think the trailer did the movie justice at all. The trailer was very bizarre. Now the movie was very bizarre too, but it was more consumable than I think the trailer was trying to make it out to be. So I mean, this wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is like drop everything to watch for me. The animation, the craft.
I mean, how do you make stop motion flame?
Seriously, right?
It was just, my mind is like, but how did you do that?
And not so much the fire in the fireplace, because that one, I mean, you could see all the, the cotton and stuff that they use. I was more blown away when they light a match, and he strikes it several times before it lights. And then they use depth with the camera also, and they change focus. I was like, this is great, because this is truly like I'm watching a film, I mean,
even when they're breathing, there's like the movement of the hair on the face.
Yes, it was great. The human characters are creepily designed, because they're more face than or more head than face. You know what I mean? Like the eyes, nose, and mouth are squished into the middle there some, and it was like, oh, it's unsettling. It's just weird.
I don't think you should watch the first part with young kids. I think that is terrifying. There's some shining moments in there. It's just
this was
nightmare fuel.
It's not. I think it gets more tame as each one goes along.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think it also, like, the third story it might be the most adult story, from a
what's it mean?
Yeah. The letting go, the moving on, the just those types of themes within there. That
I really want to know more about the third story, though. Like what it reveals at the end. I was like, oh really? I didn't get that until that moment. Tell me more.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the whole thing about that world, I was like, how did we get here? It was very, very intriguing. So
did you get that it was the same house?
Yes.
I didn't get that until I read the synopsis, which I hadn't read. And I was like, how? It's so different.
Well, there were similarities to it. Now, of course, it also catches fire in the first one, so you have that. But there were there were two circular windows in the first one, which at one point became the dude's eyes, that was just creepy.
That was
He
weird.
blinked.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then in the second movie, and maybe even in the third, I don't remember the third part, but if there was the specific of that, but there were three windows at the top, three circular windows in story 2. But yeah, I mean, it felt to me similar enough. Like there might have been more nuanced differences and more little bits here and there, but I thought that it was at least a very similar house. No, I did think it was the same house. Yeah. So
Yeah, okay.
anyway, but yeah.
Cool. Okay, so this is not on the best thing I watched this week, but I do want to talk about it briefly because I know you saw it and I got the feeling that you thought it was really great. And I just want to ask why.
Is it a movie that you happened to see yesterday?
Yes. Yes, it is.
That you were not thrilled with at all.
No. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, why you rubbish? You are poo. Scream.
Scream.
The latest Scream movie. So you saw that. And I remember you saying, you're like, yeah, it's the best one since the first one. I think you said that.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen number 4. And it's been
Oh.
really a long time since I've seen any of the sequels.
Oh, you haven't even seen 4? Okay.
I haven't seen 4 at all. No.
Okay.
So there is that whole caveat going in there.
So let's do a little bit of spoiler warning, just a tad. I won't reveal who or what or how many or who done it. Yeah. Okay. But there's just one. So I might have been able to excuse all of the issues that the film brings up to light for me. Except the end. You have two characters, Neve Campbell and
Courtney Cox.
so this is spoilers. Yeah. Gale Weathers. Right? Now, just before, let's just spiral back 10 minutes. Neve Campbell has had a knife this big, like it's a massive knife, shoved all the way into her side.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gale Weathers has been shot.
Yes.
And literally a line says, "We need to take you to the hospital." And she says, "No, just go and finish what you've started."
Yes.
And I'm like, that's cool. I'm all for this. Cut to the end where they're sitting on the back of an ambulance.
Yes.
And they're just chatting like nothing is wrong. I'm
no
like,
big deal.
I call bullcrap. And I'm like, all of your other nonsense, I might have been, okay, I'm going to put it aside. It's just me being grumpy. But that scene, I was like, what? How do the directors of Ready or Not have this is an okay scene? What? It made me so bad.
Well, I think because you already had a character being wheeled off in a gurney, that they can't do 2 more characters wheeled off.
They should have had both in the gurney, just saying, oh, they're giving us the good. They've already established that you can do anything when you're on the good medicine, right?
Yes.
It's just like, I've been hurt, so now they've given me the really good stuff. And then suddenly she was able to walk on crutches. Like, again, I'm calling bullcrap. But like her ankles snapped in half.
Oh, yeah, that was a brutal scene. Yeah.
She's like, she shouldn't be alive, but okay, she's been cut up, beaten, like properly, and morphine apparently is magic now.
Well, yes. Yes.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, so okay. Go.
I will fully acknowledge that this film has a lot of problems to it. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you're absolutely right. The Courtney Cox and Neve Campbell, even when they're fighting with these wounds, I was like, no, that's not happening. I mean, one of you maybe with just some adrenaline, like there might be these short bursts, but then you're walking around and it's more nonchalant and it's like you've forgotten that you were injured type of thing.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. That is 100% blatant and there. I did not like the convenience of the hospital scene at all. Of that Jenna Ortega's character is supposedly under protective custody on an abandoned floor. That
Where did all the hospital staff and people that are ill go?
Yeah, well, and I think somebody mentioned at one point, like they put her on on an empty ward or something like that. You know what I mean? But seriously, nobody, no staff at all.
No, yeah.
And I'm sorry, when power goes out, emergency lighting comes
emergency light kicks on. Yeah.
And nobody is coming through this floor at all. I mean, they know somebody's there. You know what I mean? And when they go down in the aftermath of the events, nobody seems concerned that the power went out for a long period of time, you know, because you've had all these people die because the generator didn't kick on and there was no emergency power. So, you know, different things like that. The reveal of the whodunit
wasn't a reveal.
Holy crap, from the very beginning.
Yeah, right.
Like, no, from the very beginning.
It was so obvious.
Can you not craft a character that casts suspicion immediately? Like, but if you're going to do that, then have it be misdirecting. You know what I mean? But when you give me a character like that, like, duh.
I went like this. It's this person.
Oh, yeah.
And my wife went, yeah. And then my wife later on went, it's this person. And I went, yeah.
Yeah, no. I know. I had fun with it, though. That's what made me enjoy this, is that oh, no, wait. I'm going to go back. The dude with the car, who gets just a quick neck stab and he falls and dies.
Yeah.
What the crap was that all about? What did I miss something?
I think he was related to someone somewhere. I think that's what they were saying. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't even
that came
care
and
about,
went.
yeah, I didn't care about his story was there and gone, and it had no weight whatsoever to anything. There was no suspicion cast on him other than their initial conversation when they see him at the school. And what happened to the girl with the brown hair or the red hair that died? What happened to her?
Didn't she get shot in the head?
Did she?
At the end, she was saying, you was close, and then she goes, "Oh no, you're right." Bang.
That's right. Yeah.
That's how forgettable the characters are.
Yeah.
She
just she disappears for portions of this and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So all of this to say, this is not without a lot of issues to it, but I still had fun. I mean, I thought some of the throwbacks were good. I thought the recreation of the opening scene, but making it modern and yet still like it was in 1996. You know, I mean, that was...
No girl has a landline anymore. Who has a landline?
Who has a landline anymore? Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. So I liked that. Okay, I thought that portion of it, that dialogue and that just the way that it... Even though, you know what, no, I don't like slashers. They're unoriginal. They're, they're not scary. I prefer, something like The Witch or Hereditary, these more nuanced and thinking horrors.
It was very self-aware, but the Scream movies always were.
Exactly. But it was, and it's done even in the, even when they bring back and they bring up the whole Stab franchise, obviously referencing themselves. So it becomes meta and it's very self-aware, so much so that it's calling itself into play here. But this is the way you do that versus like when we had Matrix Resurrections, you know what I mean? Where they're referencing things and they become more of a punchline than a story building element, So,
I'll give it its due. I thought it was brutal, probably as brutal as the first one. The killings were like, whoa, okay. I don't think the killings were very original. I think 2 and 3, they had some really fun, unique killings, and I was looking forward to that. I would challenge you to go back and watch 2 and 3 again, and even 4, because you say you had fun with it, but I think this film is missing some of that fun. It's some of the quirky, funny dialogue, the balance between this is really intense, but now we're gonna have that more. I was missing that Randy character, like giving out the rules. They did all
Sure.
that, but I didn't feel like we had that character. And then when we lose a certain character in the film, in this one, I felt we lost the heart.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah. And so I was like, I don't actually feel like that character needed to be killed. I understand wanting to have somebody killed that says, "Oh, we're doing new things," but I'm not sure that was the character that you should have done that with, because if you have the heart of the character, then what you're left with is either your storyline, and then you've got to rely on your main protagonist. Now, I have to give the two main protagonists, the new blood, I thought they were excellent. The sister and sister.
Yeah.
I think they can carry the franchise. I think they have a lot of presence on screen. In fact, I'm really looking forward to, if they play on the mind of what the older sister is going through, what that could mean for future films, where they go with it. If they use that, I think it could be really interesting. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. I hope they don't continue this on. I hope this is done. Really.
Oh no, I don't think. I think this is New Blood. This is where they're setting it up.
See, okay. So, I was saying, as you were talking, I think probably the reason that I enjoy this a lot more than you did, outside of the issues, like maybe the reason that I'm willing to overlook a lot of the issues is because I've seen. So I saw the original Scream within the last several months. I think I watched it back in October when we were doing our horror thing. I went through and I watched it. But the other ones, like I said, I haven't seen 4, and I haven't seen 2 and 3 in, I don't even know when they came out. It's probably been minimum of 10 years since I've seen them. So I'm not close to the series other than the original at all. You know what I mean? And so so I was able to come in with the hint of nostalgia in there, and then just did this thrill me in certain ways? Yeah, it did. I wasn't scared, but I was never scared with even really Scream, the original one. I mean, there's tense moments for it where I'm like, ooh, but I was never like, is that, something like that. And so I think, and that could be my twistedness also. I don't know with it, but that's,
you don't get scared. Like, you watched Hereditary and you were fine.
Well, that freaked me out. I mean, I'm not going to say that, but in like the Babadook, that scares me, and I get creeped out a lot, but yeah.
What was the film in this that she mentioned that she really liked?
Well, one of them was the Babadook. That was like the top of her list, and I was like,
the one with the shadow. That film, the Babadook.
It has, well, it's the book, and Mr. Babadook who comes out.
Yeah,
of the book.
No, that film creeps me out. I don't like that film.
Yeah, no, it's a brilliant movie. And the story within there, and the deeper meanings, but it is, that bothers me to my soul. So, it will be like, I will watch this one again, and I think I'll have some fun with it still. I think I will notice, or at least be maybe bothered by the things that bothered me before, probably a little bit more on a second viewing, but I still had fun when I watched it. And I think that was it, despite all of the issues, despite even some of the rushedness to it there. I thought there were some portions where I think it's probably about the same runtime, but I didn't feel like we had as many moments in this one to have some of the characters breathe and to have some of that dialogue build up, like they recreate the scene with the friends all talking back and forth, and so that it was there. But I think in the original, it was done better. It had more weight to it. You know what I mean? More is being revealed within that than in this one. This is just kind of some banter and poking fun at Dylan Minette's character.
That happened before, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think you needed to use this opportunity to solidify us more within the cast. I
didn't care whoever died. Like there was no.
Yeah, I did.
I
Well,
think
I
the
didn't.
sisters I was worried about,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
but no one else. It was
those
like,
two are the ones, and then the original cast. I didn't want them anything
yeah,
bad to happen to them. But like even think back to the moment with in the first one with Randy in Blockbuster, or the video store, whichever, whatever it is, and him, getting all irate and everybody looking at him and stuff like that. I mean, that we didn't have that moment either in
no,
this. I mean, I know that they tried to create it. Would they give a little bit of homage to him by having the twins being related to him in that way, and so
there's
okay,
that bit where someone's on the couch. And says, look behind you. You got to follow your rules. And I'm
that
like, you look behind you.
see, I liked that scene a lot.
That's a
I
good
thought
scene.
that was one
Yeah.
of the better ones done because it's almost like bringing back the dude in the van, the camera guy in the news van. You know what I mean? Where he's like, turn around. He's like, oh no, there's a delay. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. I will still watch the trilogy. I think the three.
Okay.
I don't think I will watch this one again, unless there is a sequel to this one and it somehow works to further this story, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing before we move on. I liked the modern sensibility that was brought into this, where, it was like you need to, at the very end, they always come back and there's the boom, boom, boom. No, that there were several times within this movie where it was like, I need to do this because of this that's been set up within the rules of horror movies, and
Yeah.
so that it shows that we've learned, that we're progressing, and that we're like, okay, we're not just going to make some of those exact same stupid mistakes that we did, even though the movie itself makes a lot of other mistakes.
Yeah, you think Batman would learn this? Like, kill the Joker. He's just going to escape and hurt people again. It's the same thing.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Shoot them in the head.
Right? Yes, that's it. Exactly. In this once and for all. I mean, was it Jesse Eisenberg's character in Zombieland? Double tap.
Double tap. That's a rule. Like, yeah, live by it.
Yes. Cardio seatbelts, double tap.
Yeah, exactly. Love it. I would die in a zombie apocalypse. Cardio.
Yeah, well, I would just trip somebody else. That's what.
Just push them into the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, zombies have some food.
Yes. Nick Frost lasted for a long time.
Yeah,
So,
Have you got anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm good on the best things.
No. There are a few other things that came out this week that were really good. I would suggest for those that haven't seen it yet, watching Afterlife Season 3. Thoroughly enjoyed it. In the light of the Season 1 and 2, I now feel like it's a contained story that's just been broken up into 3 parts. And that's how I'll see it from now on, now that I've seen the third. It's a story that you kind of need to watch from beginning to end. And this is finally finishing that and done in a way that will make you feel satisfied. So that's just one I'll throw up there. Should we talk about what we're looking forward to next week?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, or this coming week, yeah.
Yes.
So coming this week, on Netflix at least, there is Ozark.
Yes.
Yes, which we won't talk about much. I am looking forward to a true crime docuseries called The Puppet Master, the ultimate con man. So in this harrowing docuseries, a cruel a cruel con man. That's just that throws up a very different series.
Yes.
Guess what docuseries I'm going to be making? A cruel con man masquerading as a British spy manipulates and steals from his victims, leaving ruined families on the way. I think this is a very interesting story. So I'm looking forward to what they do. I hope it's entertaining.
Yeah. And informative.
Yes.
That's like when you tell a true crime thing, it bothers me when they're only speculative or that they don't really get to some of the meat. That's for me. I mean, I know a lot of other people who follow true crime. They're like, well, this is no new information. I don't follow true crime in that way. So it's all new information to me. I just want it to, yeah, to be intriguing and entertaining.
uh, Mass is coming out here on Sky, and now, so I would suggest if you haven't seen that yet, we've talked about that already, so see that. Dota season 2.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's this week. Anything else on your list?
Munich, The Edge of War.
Mm.
It's I just watched it last night, and yeah, you
Can't
should put
say
it on
anything
your
about
list.
it because you're embargoed.
Yeah, exactly. I can't say
It's
anything.
worth.
Um,
It,
I believe so. Yes.
yeah.
Um,
Cool.
Sundance kicks off this next week,
Oh,
and
interesting.
so for me, I am ridiculous. I bought tickets to 16 different movies that I'm watching over the course of 5 days.
Oh wow.
Now you may like, oh, hey, that's like 3 per day. Well, these are timed.
Oh
So
my gosh.
one day, which I am a moron, I wasn't really paying attention to my schedule. I have 5 movies that I have to watch in one day, but it's
Are they
also
expensive?
no 20. Well, I mean, relatively,
Hmm.
they're $20 each. So I did make an investment within this. I mean, it's 300 something dollars. Um, but it was cheaper to buy the individual tickets than it was to buy some of their packages, which made no
Oh, that's
sense to
weird.
me. Yeah,
That's bonkers. Yeah.
yeah. And Sundance
So is
went.
it like a digital screening of a film?
Yes, yeah. Last
Oh,
year they
that's
were
pretty cool.
fully virtual. This
Right.
year they were going hybrid, which is, and so the price actually went up. Like last year, I think I spent a little less than $400 and had access as long as I could get the tickets. I mean, they have a limited number of tickets,
Mm.
but I could watch as many as I wanted, as I could,
S-
fit into my schedule. So I watched a crap ton last year. This time they redid that because they were doing a hybrid, and
mm.
so all of the prices went up. And I was like, well, I can't afford to do this. And like there was a $750 package, but you
Wow.
only got 10 tickets, and which
Okay.
made no sense to me. Why would I pay $75 per movie when, and you still run into the thing of they could sell out,
Yeah.
versus me just, well, like, well, I'm just going to buy this one. Yep, that one's available. I'm going to buy that one. So I did that. So I have
So
this.
which ones are you most excited about?
Um, here's my list. I don't know if you can see that.
Uh,
Um, there is. Let's see here. Well, let me just start off by saying the one that I was most looking forward to is
hmm.
now no longer going to be presented at Sundance. And I respect
Ah,
the
sad.
filmmaker's reason for doing so, but it was
Okay.
called The Final Cut, and it
Yeah.
was about a movie, like it's a movie within a movie type of thing, where the story is about the filming of a zombie movie when a zombie apocalypse breaks out during the filming of this. And it looked wonderful. But last week, Sundance made the announcement that they were going fully virtual just because of COVID, the spread that was happening, that they wanted to be overly precautious. So they moved it all online. And the director of this movie was like, we respect that decision, but we feel that our movie should be seen on the screen, in a theater, not on a TV screen for its debut. Okay,
Mm.
fair enough. So they pulled it out. Um, some of the ones that I'm looking forward to, and I don't really know much about these, at least as I read the titles, but like Emily the Criminal, that one is Aubrey Plaza. Um, there's this one called Piggy, and I think it's like a twisted tale on bullying, because the image that I saw was this girl she looks kind of filthy, but then she's also covered in blood, and so I think some bad things happen within there.
Okay.
Um, there's one called let's see, Alice. There's this one, I think it's French, which I know it's going to be weird, but it's The Cow Who Sang a Song of the Future. Yeah,
Great title.
exactly right. Um, I think When You Finish Saving the World, that one I believe is Julianne Moore and Finn Wolfhard.
Okay.
Um, so I mean, within 16 movies, I've got Yeah, I got a lot to watch, and I have the day that I have 5 is actually a work day. So
How
after
do you do
work,
that?
yeah, well, that was the one where I was stupid, which I wasn't
Okay.
paying attention to what day it was. So
All right.
after work, I've got 10 hours at least
Oh, dude,
to
get
watch.
yourself a caffeine package.
Yeah, yeah, that's gonna be
Intravenous drip of caffeine.
yeah, it's gonna be a rough one because they're timed like so they I mean like okay, so I could watch them, so I'll start in the evening watching them, but it's not like I could just be tired and say, okay, well, I'll watch it the next day because they're only available for 24 hours. So it starts at
Mm.
7 a.m. my time on the day and they expire 7 a.m. the next day. So because I have a work day, I'm not going to be able to watch these until 5ish
Oh
at
my gosh.
night. So yeah, that's going to be a rough one.
What have you done, Chris?
Yeah, I know. So, a couple of them like are going to be coming out. I know are going to be coming out very soon. One
Mm.
of them is called Fresh, and that's coming to Hulu, I believe, in the U.S. Within like the next 2 weeks or something like that. So I'm
Okay.
excited for that. And then there's one we need to talk about Cosby, which is a documentary that's coming to Showtime. Um,
Ooh, I bet the
that's
Cosbys didn't sign off on that one.
Oh, I'm sure not. Yeah. So I don't know how it's going to be, but we'll. Anyway,
Yeah.
there you go. So that's on my list.
Wow.
And then the biggest thing for me personally that I'm looking forward to next week is I finally my tattoo appointment is coming up, and I get to get some new ink done. So yeah,
Can you get one of your sons to record it
I will probably yeah I'll have they're going to come with me I think. So yes, I'll have at least some of the a
so
little
we
bit of
can
the.
experience the pain that you're in?
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I'm so excited. Oh,
Are you? Okay.
long time. All right.
Amazing.
Yes. How about some news?
S- Yeah, let's do some news. You got anything while I pull up my news?
I have one. I'm not sure how I feel about this.
Oh dear.
It's one of those where does this need to exist? Should this exist? And what's it going to be? But
Sounds like it's gonna make me angry.
maybe. I don't know. Disney Plus announced that Tim Allen is reprising his role as Scott Calvin for a
Hmm.
new The Santa Claus series.
Yeah,
I, I
Disney are making a lot of questionable choices this
yeah,
week.
yeah, I don't excuse me. I I enjoy at least the first one, the Santa Claus. I thought it was for its time I thought it was funny. It was
Hmm.
I mean it's schmaltzy and cheesy, but it's also just a family Christmas movie and you feel good, you know what I mean? It has some very predictable arcs to it, but I think Tim Allen did a good job within there. I thought it
Yeah,
just
I like the second one. I think the third one is just yeah.
I don't even remember
Uh,
the third one, yeah.
but I guess they're doing a series because they want to move it on because he can't be Santa for always. He's old now. So as far as I understand, it's handing off the
Oh, he's going to
hat.
pass the torch
It's
to the
gonna pass the torch. Yeah. So I think that's probably what they want to do because so many people love Tim Allen as Santa Claus and equate him with that movie. I think they're trying to be careful with what they or how they go about, for the next generation, which I guess I understand.
Sure. Sure. I mean, yeah, the quote that I, quite often, does this look like a little weight? Just as I shake my belly fat, usually that's after I have consumed large amounts of gluten or something. But yeah, that's all the news that I have. That one stood out to me because I don't know exactly how I feel about that. I'm not sure that I'll watch probably. It's not something that I'm like, ooh, I've been missing this in my life.
Mm. Okay, so I did a little bit of journalism this week
Ooh.
because I can Google. Um, so talking about Disney, and we've talked about Avatar a number of times
Yes.
already on the podcast. So here's your headline: Disney and Tencent announce Avatar MMORPG. So it's a multiplayer role playing game.
Online role play game. Yeah.
Online. Okay, so the article is Disney and Tencent have announced Avatar Reckoning, a new MMORPG set on Pandora for iOS and Android devices due for launch this year. You'll be able to play Avatar Reckoning in 3 modes: single mode, story missions, PvP, or co-op as you explore. Okay, so do you know much about Tencent?
I don't know what that is. That like 50 cents
Oh no,
half brother.
Tencent is a massive company.
Okay.
That's okay. Some background. Tencent owns a lot of mobile developer focused on intense microtransactions only to gamers consumers. That is considered unethical as it is mostly to children. In conclusion, they are as evil as any top 100 profitable company because they left their morals behind. China, I was doing some research on this, and so China has suspended Tencent holdings from updating its existing apps or launching any new apps as part of a temporary administrative guidance against the tech giant. China's media outlets, including Shanghai-based, this China's market has reported that they won't be. Basically, they're trying to stop doing any dealings with Tencent because of all the microtransactions. So it's basically gambling for children. That's the big thing that have come around. So Disney are partnering with Tencent to do a multiplayered Avatar game that is specifically designed for mobile, which is where you get all those ads and those, all those, like, you buy gems and stuff for 99 cents, and then you buy, and then some little kid like taps the £100 gem because they want to progress and build their characters, which can be very addictive, and little kids don't understand that really, or even older kids, because it's very easy to spend an hour here on your phone while you're dawdling, and then you're like, oh, I'm playing this game. I understand why they're doing Avatar, because people are asking, I've noticed in the comments, asking, why are you doing Avatar? In the next few years, Avatar is going to be massive again, because we have so many films coming out, and there's also a standalone game coming out as well, which is console based.
Okay.
And so they're putting, it's basically a big universe that Disney is putting a lot of money into. So I'm guessing this is their way of getting some of that money back, because I think people would be surprised to know that game revenue, 40% of all game revenue comes from these monetization issues that have been now considered as gambling. And in the news the last couple of years, 3 to 4 years, there's been a big thing about is this gambling for kids. And there's no other way to look at it, because if you tap on something and you get something, and you spend money on it, if you don't know what you're going to get, it's just like a random thing that's
game of chance. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. There's no other way that you can really describe. Just because it's digital doesn't mean it's not gambling. Yeah. So there was that. I thought it was very interesting, because I didn't know what to make of it, and I know Disney's not one person, but it's an interesting decision that they've made there. And talking about digital constructs, I've segued into game because I just thought it was an interesting week for a bit of game. World of Warcraft, we had that film recently a few years ago, they based the movie on the World of Warcraft game. It's a slightly big game with over 200 million players, so
tiny.
The World of Warcraft players staged sit-in protest following Blizzard allegations. So this is really interesting, and it just shows the digital world that we live in, is that one of the CEOs has been up to something, and you'd have to go and read the article for yourself, but there hasn't been any change. So the players in like the digital lobby, have all gone, instead of playing the game, they've all gone online, and they're just like sitting.
Oh, just hanging out in the lobby there?
They're just staying there. And that, like, instead of being able to protest together because the players from all around the world,
sure,
they're just like, this is how we're protesting. And I thought it was just, I was really intrigued and interested. Like, wow, does that force any action? I guess, if they're not actually playing their game, but they're still online on their game.
Yeah, because I don't know how analytics work within that game and how it's reported, but you would think that if the players are logged into the game it shows play time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they were on servers, which still makes the company then be able to show to other investors, look, we have these people this many hours still on there, versus if everybody were to just say for the next week, nobody log on. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
That
That
I
that would
well
actually
that
drop their money, right? Yeah.
you would think so, yeah, because all of a sudden you have this huge dip in
But
what.
that would mean players would actually have to stop being on screens for a while, and that, I don't know. Once you're addicted to the world of online gaming, it's hard to come out of that.
Yeah, well,
Speaking from
true, very true,
experience.
true, yeah,
um, a bit of different news. A
okay,
Quantum Leap sequel series is in the works at NBC.
yes, I saw that this week.
It's set
The
30 years after Dr. Sam Beckett stepped into the Quantum Leap accelerator and vanished, where a new team has been assembled to restart the project.
and they haven't confirmed yet whether or not Scott Bakula will actually make an appearance. At least when I
I
saw it.
I mean, can you call it Quantum Leap without?
Well, and Dean Stockwell has passed on.
Yes, he has, yeah. I mean, you
So
could do a digital version,
yeah, yeah, I would hope
unless
that
that's
they
in bad
would.
taste. I don't know.
Well, maybe at least in the initial pilot, something just
Hmm.
to acknowledge your roots. You know what I mean? I think though, I think really it would be awesome to have Scott Bakula in there, even to pass that torch along. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like him, even if it's like a video message that he's talking to these new people or whatever. I don't know. Um, I enjoyed the show. I mean, I thought it was fun. You know, it was quirky.
Yeah, I don't think. I think it's a series that could be modern, like could be modernized. Just going through, wormholes into other people, trying to help people. I think it's a thing like Stargate. You could keep redoing it.
Well, and there's been
Um,
there's been
okay.
enough there's been enough in current events within the last 10
Oh yeah,
15 years that they can go back in
there's
and
so much, isn't it? It could be really fun if
yeah,
done well. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Talking about something else that is not coming back. Well, I guess it's coming back. The a Real Steel series is at the works at Disney with Sean Levy to produce.
Hmm.
So you remember the Shadowboxing with Hugh Jackman?
I love that
Uh,
movie. I,
the movie's great.
I, yeah,
I
I
always thought they
know.
were going to do a sequel. I don't know about the series,
Yeah, I don't know.
and it's not. I'm guessing it's not going to have Hugh Jackman in it because he's very expensive.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know if it needs to exist either. I just
Mm.
I am getting a little tired of the rehashing of things
Yeah,
and the lack of.
there's no nothing new under the sun. It seems.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
just the lack of original content, that's a little bothersome to me.
Yeah, because we're also getting a new Final Destination movie, which is being written for HBO Max. Yep.
Whatever. Okay.
It's like enough now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That
I
is
mean,
entertainment news. Prequels and sequels and whatever Scream calls them in the movie. What do they call it?
requels,
Requels. Oh my
which I
gosh.
thought, you know what? Yeah, that isn't that a great term? I mean,
I mean, that's a thing. That's what they've been doing, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, and I like that they use that term, that they've come up with this term, that it is a reboot sequel
Mm.
hybrid type of thing. Requel.
And
That makes
Halloween's been
sense.
doing that. Or it did do that. So yeah,
Yeah,
a requel.
yeah. I like it.
And it
I
kind of
think we should.
solves some of the issues, doesn't it? Like, don't remake Flatliners because we saw how that turned out. Awful, just garbage.
Yeah.
But you could take what people loved about the original, but bring it to a new audience.
Hmm.
A recall. Yeah, yeah. That was good. I like that bit.
Yes.
All right, that is everything that I've got in news and what I'm looking forward to.
All right. Yeah, me too. Okay. Well, hey, we thank you for tuning in, for hanging out with us. Let us know in the comments, what are some of the things that you watched this week that were the best? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to in the coming weeks? And maybe they're not on our list, and that we can make sure that we put them on our list so that we check them out. That would be outstanding. But as always, like, share, subscribe. You can tweet at us at the best we watch. No, not the. I keep wanting to add things to it. At best we watched. That's the way to tweet at us, and that's a shared Twitter account, so that it's easier to just reach out to us together. But we would love to hear from you. If you're listening right now on the podcast, hey, rate and review us. But Ruben with the Ruby Tuesday. I'm Chris with Movies and Munchies. If you're watching on YouTube and you want to hear some of our awards predictions and maybe who we think is going to be the host and all kinds of stuff like that, we are going to hit that up in the bonus audio. So you can head over to Spotify, to Anchor, to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever you happen to listen. And you can listen to the rest of it or the whole thing there. Otherwise, we will see you next week.